Hey, welcome back to the 185th episode of the Athletes Podcast. This episode's a little different today. I wanted to bring you guys in, shine some light on what we do every single week when we ask our guest what their biggest piece of advice is for the next generation of athletes. We wait until the end to draw you in, make sure that you listen to the whole episode. I wanted to share a few of my favorites with you folks here today. Here we go.
What I'm going to say is maximize the opportunity and resources that you have around you. So the next generation that's coming up will have more information and more knowledge than me and you. You know, we grew up in a different generation where, you know, social media, the internet and all that stuff, AI, all those stuff weren't there yet, you know? So it was a little bit hard to get access to stuff to build your platform and build who you want to be. But now with those kids, you know, with those new kids, new generation coming up, you have access to all that stuff. You know, there's people, there's mentors, there's AIs, there's social media, there's NIL now paying you. So you can be whoever you want to be and build your brand on your own. You don't need those big companies, or you don't need someone to really like teach you everything at that time. You can search up and look up all that information. You want to sign up for a camp? Boom, you can do this. You want to learn how to do like defensive back drills and how to take care of your body and what to do before, after a game. You can go on the internet and maybe look up a podcast, a Patreon, a hub, or anything, you know, that teaches that, you know. So all those things that we didn't have. So maximize that. Like, it should never be a kid that says like, you know what, I don't know how to do this, like, or like, how can I do this, whatever. If it's not in person, let's say at my camp for football, where I bring someone, then you can search up on the internet. And then when you do go to those things, let's say you go to a conference for content creator, you go to my football camp or whatever, don't be shy to ask questions. It's your one opportunity right now. Take advantage of it. Ask questions. How can I do this? How did you do this? How do you do it? Because you might never see that person ever again. You know, so this is my advice for the next generation.
This would be for the next generation of athletes. Do you have one piece?
One piece. Whew. Okay, this one is really sticking out to me right now, just within my journey. And character happens in response to your circumstances. And so with that, it's like you have a choice. You either let your circumstances, good or bad, determine how you react in a negative way, in a doubting way, or are you going to react in a way that's going to empower yourself, empower others, and be the person you want to be, and that's your choice. So
chase your own dreams. You know, there's a lot of things that people are going to tell you that you're going to be good at, or that you're not going to be good at. With my son, he's 15. We put him into football. He started as a defensive end right away, and at the end of the season, he's like, "Dad, did you play because you were good or because you liked it?" I'm like, "You don't like it, do you?" He goes, "Dad, I just don't like it." I said, each person has to find their own tuning fork. And for both of us, I think we found that it was through football that the tuning fork went off, and from that point, there's nothing else that I wanted to do. Without that, you know, don't chase somebody else's dream. And at the same time, don't listen to somebody say you're not good enough to make it, because what do they know? How do they know? Back to it, follow your own inner tuning fork, and just pursue it with everything you got.
It doesn't matter where you're from. I always say this: don't let the roof over your head be the ceiling to your dreams. Because it doesn't matter what your situation is, wherever you are is just perfect for a start. And you can build, and you can go wherever you want. So that's what I would say. You know, whatever roof you have over your head, it's not the ceiling to your dreams. Like you can do it, but you got to put in that work.
As wily vet that you are now and all of the experience that you have, I'd love for you to share your piece of advice.
Honestly, I think what separates people who make it in the sport and don't, especially in track and field, is resilience and being able to get knocked down but get back up. If you make it to this level, you've had some level of success to get to the pro level. So going through the ranks and getting to that point where you're a professional now, you're going to have a huge level of success and not really be used to adversity. Some people experience it for a little bit, but a lot of people have like this wave of success all the way up to the pros. And then once they get there, then they start to experience their adversity. person. They don't know how to handle themselves. They lose confidence. They start doubting themselves. They stop doing the things that they did to get them there. They try to change things up. They stop listening to people that help them on their path. You start to not recognize yourself as an athlete. But if you have that resilience that say, okay, I'm going to experience the lows, and that's normal. That's in every athlete's journey. We all experience adversity, but you can weather the storm. And if you just stay consistent, stay solid, stay dedicated, continue to reevaluate and reflect on yourself as an athlete and learn where you can improve, over time, you're going to weather the storm and bounce back and come out on the other end as a better athlete for it. So now when you get met with adversity in the future, you're battle tested and you're not easily wavering at the sign of something going wrong. And you need that. That's the most key thing. Like every top athlete will have that. And I'm sure they'll tell you the same thing, where it's like they got knocked down, but they learned how to get back up. And now when something knocks them down again in the future, they're not fazed by it. They just get right back up and handle business like a professional.
Their biggest piece of advice would be for the next generation of athletes.
I think obviously for me, it's enjoying the present, enjoying what you're doing. It's invaluable to what if yourself and think about how things could be otherwise, you know, whether that's when you're in the sport or after. But when you're in the sport, you what if yourself and think, oh man, if the refs had done this or the umpire had done this or this had gone my way or that had gone my way, it's not helpful. At the end of the day, you can only control what you can control. And what you can control is being present in the moment and enjoying what you're doing. And it's like at some point, you can't play anymore. No matter who you are, at some point, you're done. And you don't want to look back and think, man, we had an awesome opportunity that summer and we didn't maximize it. You never want to think that because it's a terrible feeling. So really focusing on trying to enjoy what you're doing. Don't think about, man, I wish I was at home hanging out with girls, or I wish I didn't have to go do this, or I wish I didn't have to practice. Just enjoy every minute of it, because one day it's gone and you're going to wish you had.
That we haven't touched on this episode that you would say is super important, integral information for a young athlete to know, understand, maybe develop over the next couple of years?
I think personal development's it, because that'll be what finds you further than anything else. And that's like, this is an old man answer and might not be what like a kid is looking for. I guarantee you, if there's a kid out there who is a good athlete and listens to this, they won't take that advice, and that might actually make them the athlete they need to be. But in 10 years, they'll find this whenever they're ready and be like, oh yeah, that guy was kind of onto something. And you see athletes at different levels of personal development, but you'll have kids going into a combine that are professional athletes already, right? Whether they make it to the league or not. And you have kids who are going to the league, you're like, this kid's gonna run half the city up his nose. And it's just like, I think that piece is hard. You cannot imagine what it's like when the jersey goes on and the paychecks start coming in and everyone's coming out of the woodwork. But I'm gonna give you some advice as far as like, when people approach you, you're a target. Everyone knows how much money you make. I always tell them, like, look, if you need a vet, like if someone's like, hey, so-and-so wants to like work with me and here's a cost, tell me and I'll be able to be like yes or no. And I don't have a vested interest in it, like, and that's what I tell them. I got my own business, I got my own company. Like, this is just something I kind of do, not for fun. Like, it's what if I could in a perfect world only do that, but it's like, I'm not trying to, I don't make a buck off you. Like, big fan of these kids, but that's something like personal development would be big. Get the right people around you. And then if you have the skills, honestly, the people and the personal development side, I see that trip up more people than the actual skills.
You brought up a Michael Jordan quote, the day I stop improving is the day I walk away from the game. The way we wrap every episode on the Athletes podcast is we ask our guests what their biggest piece of advice would be for the next generation of athletes. Rhonda, Racich, having all of your experiences, journeys, 9 lives as you've referred to them as in other podcasts, I'd love for you to share what you have for the Athletes podcast listeners.
Again, if we're talking about young athletes, you got to make sure that you're having fun. I hate to say it, but I think sometimes parents and coaches have the ability to somehow suck the joy out of the sport when they place certain expectations or certain, outcome ultimatums on their kids. And I think that's what the adults need to remember is, this is all these sports are a game. They were born out of someone or a group of people wanting to have fun doing something active. And I think that can get lost in the chase of achievement. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm one of the most competitive people I know on the planet when it comes to wanting to win and what it takes to get there. But again, you can't just not enjoy. And I understand. I mean, there's going to be times that suck. There's going to be those 5 a.m. workouts that that suck. There's going to be those days of soreness that suck, but I'm not saying that it doesn't come with, all the ingredients of what it takes to actually be great. But it is a game. It is meant to be fun, and especially for the kids. Yes, we want them to be active. Yes, we want them to be social and make friends and teammates and all that, but in doing so, they should be having fun too. If they're not enjoying that sport, introduce them to as many sports as you can. Let them find the one or the multiple ones that they really fall in love with, that they...
Through everything that you have, I'm sure you could probably write out a list, but if there's one thing in particular you'd like to leave the next gen with, I'd love for you to share it.
Yeah, I think that adversity is inevitable and you need to go through it. I'm not advocating that you need to go play with gas and fire or anything like that, but it's not supposed to be easy. And I think, what are your tools you have in those hard times, right? And I think that's where the visualization piece especially can come in. You got to trust the journey, and it's not supposed to be easy. Yeah.
Hey, hard times make better people.
I would say the number one thing that's kept me on track has been my faith. And I'm not one to push any religion on anyone, but I know for myself, my faith has been my guiding rock, just because it keeps things in perspective. And I would say, if not that, just find something in your life that keeps everything else in perspective, that you can put, that supersedes everything else, that's a constant. And so and life isn't ups and downs, that's just a game, and it's how it goes. And if you're able to accept that and still roll with the punches and understand that there's gonna be times where you're successful and times where you don't think you're successful, where you really are, the key isn't about winning each day on the grand scale. It's about finding the little wins, because that's what really adds up when you look at the whole body of work and you're like, man, I'm where I'm at because each and every day I just found a little win. So I'd say find something that keeps everything in perspective for you. That way you can look at, all the little blessings, all the little wins, because they really add up, and just count things that you're grateful for. For myself, I try to start every morning and go to sleep every night just thanking God for all the things that I'm grateful for. And that keeps me in a grateful mind. It keeps me motivated, and it keeps me thinking that things are going to be better than they even are now. And as long as you're always working towards something, I'm not saying that so that you feel like you're not enough or not content. I'm saying feel content because you know you're winning. You know you're working to something.
Our guests, what their biggest piece of advice would be for the next generation of athletes.
The biggest piece of advice that I want to give to the younger generation, and it's not just athletes, I'm going to go with the entire younger generation. It's two things. The first thing is, if you need help, no matter what it is, no matter what it is you're doing, if you need help, don't be afraid to ask, right? Someone can only, the worst that can happen is someone says no, then you move on and you ask again. And more importantly, I think is the biggest of things that I can say is, if someone offers you help, do not be afraid to take it. Because so many times in our lives, we think we can do everything by ourselves. Oh no, I don't want that. Oh no, I'm gonna do it myself. Oh no, no, you can't do it yourself. No one does it themselves, right? If I didn't take, a lot of times people say, oh man, you were so lucky. You were so lucky. Someone sent you to, and I said, listen, there's nothing lucky about that. I didn't have to take that help. None of anybody in my situation would say, "Were you crazy? I'm not going to jail. Get out of here with that nonsense," right? So don't be afraid to accept the help that's given to you, right? Because you never know where that help might take you, right? You never know where your life might go. If it wasn't for me, if I didn't accept that help, I wouldn't be here talking to you. I'd be dead or in jail. So accept the help that's given to you. I cannot say it enough. It's so important.
I got two things.
Ooh.
So first, you are the boss. You are the most important person. You put yourself first. And that doesn't mean you can't do things for other people, because I love to volunteer. I love to give back. But you have to prioritize yourself. And that's your mental health, your emotions. Like, you have to prioritize your time, your schoolwork. Like, you are number one. And I think that's so important. Some young athletes have it kind of the wrong way, where it's like, I'm the best. It's not I'm the best. It's like, I'm the most important because I'm the only one looking out for me at the end of the day. Everyone wants good things for you, but you're the only one in control of like everything. So that's number one. Number two would be just like, have your eyes and your head on a swivel. I think there are so many opportunities just peripheral to every hallway you walk down, every person you're introduced to, every school you go to, every competition. I wouldn't be anywhere like today if it weren't like, I've been out of sport for 4 years now. Every job I've had since has been somewhat related to someone I met 10 years ago. And that's where, again, like that CEO is like, she's just Forrest Gump and she walks around. It is because I've built such strong foundations over the 10 years. So I think young athletes, every time you walk into a room, genuinely, don't just pay attention to who's in the room, but get to know the people in the room. Look behind every door. You would never know that, like, someone in a school cafeteria or something like that. One of my biggest advocates was my painting teacher. Like, it's those people who are going to support you that aren't expected to. It's going to be like the CEOs who give you 3 months off to go to a training camp or something like that. So just be really like head on a swivel, eyes in all directions at the people and the things that are around all the corners that are unrelated to your sport as well.
So you got to remember to play your own game. You got to remember to do your own thing, and there are good resources out there, but number one is to be disciplined in choosing your lane, sticking with it, doing good things, and just playing that game, and it's going to be the best for you.
Additionally to that, just stay focused and like find a coach outside of your sport that's going to hold your dream more true to you than you even could. Like, I'm so fortunate to have Danielle at the Spiritual Room doing that for me, because she doesn't really know anything about the politics of my sport, which can kind of get in the way of like how you might view your pathway. But having somebody that just trusts and believes in me and believes that we're going to get to my goal is like so beneficial. So yeah, find somebody that believes in you more thoroughly than yourself.
Now, you were inducted into the University of Michigan Athletic Hall of Honor in 1989,
right,
and the Michigan Golf Hall of Fame in 1991. I'd love for you to share what your biggest piece of advice would be for the next generation.
Again, we spoke about it earlier. It's just dedication and practice. The more you dedicate yourself to your craft, the better you're going to be. And you've got to understand, you've got to do it mentally as well as physically. If you're not your best friend on the golf course, you will not succeed.
The biggest thing is no matter what, like, you can only control the controllable. So by like doing that, I think you'll feel a little bit more at peace during the highs and lows. And there's no athlete on this planet that has ever been through like just an easy, like linear progression in their career. So I think really just like leaning on people during those lows and find other passions outside of your sport can really help you, find peace within it. So
said I was pretty lucky to have a good support staff, from a young age. So I feel like I was always told it, but whether I believed it or not at that time. And I feel like it's a cliche too, but there's really no right way to do it. I mean, I've met so many people that, you could be the first round pick that goes straight to major junior, that signs at 20 years old and goes straight to the NHL, or you could be a guy that, grinds it up in the junior league to maybe D3 or lower junior in Canada, pro all the way up. Like, you could be third. Like, I think there was just a guy the other day that, got his, I can't remember who it was. I think I just saw the NHL posted that, got his first NHL goal when he's like 32 years old. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's more cool than, the guy that's 20, getting his debut. Like, that's something, a guy that's worked, his ass off his whole life and probably gone through so many more things that, we could ever imagine just to get to that point. So I think that's really, really important, just in general, for people to always remember, is that, there's going to be so many ups and downs and things where, you think that it's over. I mean, I've gone through that in my head a million times where, you have a bad game here, this guy comes to watch you to get to that next level, and you have a bad game and it doesn't work out. And you know what I mean? Things are always going to fall into place, and things like everything's going to happen for a reason, for sure. It's super cliche, but I genuinely do believe that.
Don't squander, don't waste the opportunity that you have. Just take it as far as you possibly can and enjoy the ride.
I think my biggest piece of advice is that your journey does not need to be the same as everybody else's for you to find success. Personally, I've had a very non-linear journey and not checked all the boxes that you're supposed to, and it's actually been to my benefit. So I encourage people, I encourage women to, you don't need to choose between being a mom and being an athlete. Like, not that it's easy, but it's so worth it. So.
Yeah, my biggest thing would be about believing in yourself, and regardless of what people tell you, you have a plan. You create your own vision about what you want to achieve and how you're going to do that. So it's like believing in yourself and having a plan of how you're going to, kind of achieve your ultimate goals. Setbacks happen, but, this belief should be stronger than any setbacks, and learn from setbacks. So kind of three things: believe in yourself, learn from setbacks, what went wrong, how can you improve it, and have goals, but importantly, what can you do to achieve your goals?
These are just a couple of the 184 separate, incredible individual pieces of advice that have been shared over the past nearly 4 years now on the Athletes Podcast. And I'd love to know what favorites you folks have had over the past couple of years, what the best piece of advice that you've listened to every single week on the Athletes Podcast, what your favorite's been. I'd love to know. As you know, we have an athlete agreement here. This is an opportunity for you to give back a little bit to us for giving every single week. I just want to say thank you for coming on, taking part, being a part of the Athletes Podcast journey as we aim to educate, entertain, and inspire that next gen. This is another week, another new episode, something a little different. Let me know what you think in the YouTube comments. Be sure to subscribe wherever you're listening, Apple, Spotify. Thanks so much. Hope you have a great rest of your day. See you next week. Bye.